respond to the current major challenges to the steel sector? Thank you.
Stephen Kinnock.
Thank you, Ms Noakes. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship, and I'd like to congratulate the honourable gentleman for Stoke-on-Trent South for securing this very important debate. Manufacturing is the backbone of the British economy, but it is a backbone that's been dangerously damaged in recent decades. By failing to back our manufacturing sector, successive Conservative governments since 2010 have only succeeded in offshoring jobs and, as a result, ripping the heart out of our local communities, whilst also offshoring our carbon emissions. So the government's number one priority should be to do whatever it takes to support and regenerate our manufacturing sector. Steel is the cornerstone of that manufacturing sector, and it will continue to be so for decades into the future. Steel is the homes that we live in, the vehicles that we drive, and the offices that we work in. Steel will build the smart cars and the wind turbines that power our economy forward. The government appears to believe that steel is a sunset industry, but nothing could be further from the truth. The steel industry is a hotbed of innovation and pioneering technologies. Tata Steel is the largest private sector employer in my constituency, and the company is absolutely determined that there should be a future for UK steelmaking, whilst also recognising the importance of decarbonisation. But it recognises that for UK steelmaking to enjoy a prosperous future, the industry needs support and partnership from UK government. Firstly, by working with the industry to manage a pathway to net zero on both public and private investment, but also by the government levelling the playing field in order to ensure that the industry is competitive against its European counterparts. Let's be clear, the current energy spike has played havoc with energy-intensive industries. I will give way.
First-class speech. I was brought up in Sheffield. I was there, lived there for 20-odd years. I know what he's talking about. He's completely right. I don't want to make a speech, but I want to congratulate him.
I thank the honourable gentleman for his kind words. Let's be clear, the energy spike has played havoc. November 21 prices have peaked at 50 times the 2020 average, at 2,000 megawatts per hour. The monthly average wholesale costs are 50% higher than in Germany. These extraordinary electricity prices are leading to smaller or completely eliminated profits, and thus to less reinvestment, and for some companies even pauses in production. Further still, high electricity prices also act as a disincentive for investment from international steel companies, with the UK being seen as a less favourable investment environment than other places. The potential for a widening price gap between the UK and our European competitors remains one of a loss of market share both in the UK and in key export markets. This is why it's utterly self-defeating for Ofgem to recommend that network energy prices will rise even higher. The Business Select Committee has rightly called for the steel industry to be exempt from this price hike. Let's hope that Ofgem and the Business Secretary and the Minister who's in his place today will take heed of the Select Committee's recommendations. Ms Noakes, other European countries have taken quicker and more expansive action than the British government by offering support to energy-intensive industries. As has already been mentioned, the Portuguese government has announced a minimum 30% reduction of network charges for industrial users. The Italian government has pledged over £4 billion to eliminate renewable levies for gas for industry and electricity for SMEs. In Spain, we've seen tax cuts and a temporary reduction in extraordinary profits made by energy companies, including extending an existing suspension of a 7% power generation tax through year end. They will also cut their special electricity tax from the current 5.1% to 0.5%. What we need to see in this country now is the provision of 100% compensation for costs of carbon, carbon price floor and UK ETS in electricity bills, up from the current 75% allowed for under EU state aid rules. 85% compensation for capacity market fee, 85% reduction in network costs in line with France and Germany, and full exemption for the renewable energies to introduce additional compensation. The Minister will point, of course, to the Energy-Intensive Industries Compensation Fund, but this was half a decade ago, and the gap I've just described exists after that fund is taken into account. Ms Noakes, we've had enough of warm words. We must now commit to levelling the playing field for our steel companies. It is the least that British workers and industrial communities deserve. And what a contrast between the government's dithering and Labour's bold and ambitious £3 billion steel renewal fund. In that fund, we pledged serious investment, whilst the Chancellor had absolutely nothing to say about steel in the budget. It's a dereliction of duty, and it makes a mockery of the government's so-called levelling up policies. Tragically, successive Conservative governments have failed to support our steelworkers and their families and communities. What a contrast with our party and our steel unions, who truly grasp the central importance of the steel industry to the past, present and future of our country. Let us hope that this government will at some point recognise the need to unleash a modern manufacturing renaissance with steel at its heart. Thank you.
Holly Mumby-Croft.
Well done.